Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are strapping in for what is maybe the most requested alternate history analysis in the entire magic.
I think it definitely is.
Our mission is to take a stack of these really compelling hypothetical, academic papers, some fan theories, detailed narrative outlines, and answer that ultimate question. What if Voldemort had chosen Neville Longbottom?
It's so much more than just a simple swap, isn't it? This deep dive really explores a fundamental, timeline-altering shift in the wizarding world.
Yeah.
We're going to be tracking the consequences of that one single decision, how it changed the tragic fate of the Potters, how Neville's life unfolded in, well, absolute isolation.
And then the stunning conclusion of the Chamber of Secrets mystery, which is what ultimately confirms Neville as the true chosen one, but not in the way anyone, and I mean anyone, expected.
Not at all.
Okay, so let's unpack this, and let's jump right into the heart of it. The prophecy itself.
Yeah.
You have two baby boys, both born as the 7th month died, and both of their families had defied Voldemort 3 times. They are, for all magical and chronological purposes, perfectly qualified candidates.
They really are. They're two sides of the same magical coin.
Yeah.
And the prophecy, it never names names. It just describes the criteria.
Right.
The crucial line is always that same one. The one with the power to vanquish the Dark Lord approach. And the Dark Lord will mark him as his equal, but he will have power the Dark Lord knows not. The marking part. That's.
And what we know from the, let's call it the established timeline, is that Voldemort's original choice, Harry, was based on something deeply ingrained, almost pathetic. It was personal vanity.
Exactly. Voldemort preaches this pure blood supremacy, but he's a half-blood himself, so he chose Harry, another half-blood.
Right.
And it wasn't out of any kind of respect for Harry. It was because he saw a reflection of himself, this powerful figure rising from a less than pure lineage, and he wanted to prove his own superiority by just destroying that reflection.
It was pure ego.
Pure ego, not his own doctrine.
So in our alternate timeline, where everything shifts, what is the crucial distinction? Why does he pick Neville, the pure blood heir, over Harry, the half-blood?
Well, the sources we're looking at suggest that in this version of reality, Voldemort's public rhetoric, his propaganda, it finally wins out over his private vanity.
So he actually starts to believe his own lie.
He does. He decides that the true threat, the one the prophecy must be talking about, has to stem from the purest, oldest magical line. He reasons that a pure blood like Neville Longbottom, whose family is ancient and, famously anti-dark arts, must have this deeper inherent power capable of vanquishing.
That's fascinating. So if he chooses Neville based on pure blood superiority, it suggests Voldemort views the Longbottoms not just as enemies, but as the only legitimate magical threat left stand's way.
It's a cynical move, but it's disguised as pure ideology. He picks the Longbottoms as the target, and in doing so, he's effectively declaring war on that traditional pure-blood establishment that still opposes him.
And this decision, it ensures the prophecy is still set in motion, but the victim...
Yes, and this, of course, has massive implications for the second half of that prophecy, the part he never got to hear, about the power he knows not.
He's basically confirming his own eventual defeat through his own arrogance, regardless of which boy he picks.
Exactly. By trying to mark his equal, whether that's Harry or Neville, he ensures that this ancient protective magic, this magic driven by love, is going to rebound on him.
The outcome is locked in the moment he acts.
The identity of the target is just the variable. He makes his choice, confirming Neville as the designated threat, and right there the timeline splits radically.
Which brings us to a decade that is, you could argue it's far more tense and psychologically challenging. We're calling this a decade of false calm. So let's start with the Longbottom. The source material describes their situation as one of complete isolation under the protection of the Fidelius charm.
And the crucial difference here is the secret keeper. The Potters, they chose Peter Pettigrew, which led directly to their betrayal.
A catastrophic mistake.
A huge mistake. But the Longbottoms, maybe learning from that experience or just having more faith in the system, they accept Dumbledore as their secret keeper.
And choosing Dumbledore makes their secret, and I'm quoting here, significantly more.
I'd say so. There is zero risk of magical coercion, zero risk of betrayal.
So the charm holds?
It holds perfectly. Frank and Alice Longbottom are safe, they're alive, they're well, and they're raising Neville.
Oh.
But the physical and psychological toll of the Fidelius charm is just devastating.
Can't leave.
They cannot leave their protected property. Neville grows up in this golden cage.
You mentioned in the critique that this isolation is arguably worse than what Harry experienced at the Dursley.
I think it is. Harry at least had the outside world. He had school, television, some faint memory of a normal life, however awful it was.
Yep.
Neville has only his parents. His world is literally defined to the walls of their home. For 11 years, no social peers, no neighbors, no school friends, Nothing.
And his parents, who in the main timeline were celebrated aurors.
Now they're just confined. They're constantly vigilant. They're loving, of course, but their entire existence is defined by fear and this absolute secrecy. Think about the developmental impact on a child. Extreme shyness, a reliance solely on family approval.
And profound self-doubt.
Profound self-doubt, especially when he finally has to face the outside.
And Dumbledore, ever the puppet master.
Always.
He intentionally withholds the prophecy from Neville. He's choosing a normal childhood for him, free from the burden, just like he tried to do for Harry. But Neville's childhood is anything but normal.
Right. Dumbledore's intention is good, protect the kid from the weight of destiny, but the execution is so flawed. Neville isn't shielded from the anxiety, he just doesn't know the reason for it.
So he just knows his family is terribly important and terribly threatened.
Exactly, which just compounds his self-doubt. So when he finally steps out, he's not just entering a new school, he's entering an entirely foreign world he's only ever heard about in hushed tones.
That really sets the scene for Neville's anxious, isolated personality. So, okay, let's pivot to the devastating mirrored tragedy of the Potters. Voldemort chose Neville, but the betrayal still happens.
Wormtail is still Wormtail. He betrays the Potters, reveals their location to Voldemort's remaining inner circle. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Because Voldemort is entirely focused on the Longbottom, the true threat in his mind, he doesn't bother to go execute the Potters himself.
He wants information.
She wants information. So he sends Bellatrix Lestrange and other Death Eaters to their home, not to kill, but to torture James and Lily for the Longbottom's whereabouts.
Which is a completely futile, horrific assault.
Totally. The Potters can't possibly reveal the location because Dumbledore is the secret keeper. The only thing they could give up is that Dumbledore is protecting, and Bellatrix would probably never believe that anyway.
So the attack proceeds, but the outcome it's different. And I would argue much worse than the quick death of the original timeline.
Oh, much worse. James Potter is killed defending his family, but Lily's fate. This is the true mirror image of what happened to Frank and Alice.
Yeah.
Bellatrix, realizing the Potters know nothing, she doesn't grant Lily a swift killing curse. She tortures her with the Cruciatus curse, pushing her mind past the breaking point. The result is insanity.
Oh, wow.
She becomes a shell of her former self, just trapped forever in this state of mental anguish.
That is a chilling symmetry. So Neville's parents are alive, but locked away by magic.
And Harry's mother is alive, but locked away by torture.
And baby Harry, the non-target, is left physically unscathed by this whole horrific event.
And this is where Snape comes in. He still loved Lily. He still went to Dumbledore and begged for her life. So he finds the house in ruins, James dead, Lily broken, and baby Harry unharmed. Snape rescues them. He takes the broken Lily and baby Harry to safety.
So this rescue becomes Snape's defining act. It traps him, once again, in Dumbledore's service. But the immediate consequence for Harry is monumental.
Absolutely. He is not raised by the Dursleys.
No Dursleys, no cupboard under the stairs, no inherent self-doubt.
Nope. Harry is raised by his godfather, Sirius Black. And Sirius is free because Voldemort never fell, so he never went after Pettigrew.
Right. Pettigrew is still active.
He's still actively functioning as a spy inside the Ministry, protected by the Dark Lord's continuing power structure.
Let's really dwell on that for a sec. Harry Potter, raised by Sirius Black, that changes everything about his psychological.
It creates a fundamentally different person. This Harry grows up knowing the wizarding world, feeling loved, learning about his parents' bravery from his devoted godfather.
And probably getting early hands-on exposure to magic.
Almost certainly. So he would be confident, maybe a little reckless, highly skilled, and definitely aware of the political landscape and the dangers of Voldemort.
He's a natural leader.
He's a natural leader. Exactly the person that Neville, the isolated boy, is going to desperately need as a friend.
I love that. He's the magical protector Neville never knew. Okay, so now let's look at the broader political chess. Voldemort never fell, still out there. But he's enacting this strategy the sources call the fall.
This is a masterstroke of psychological warfare. Voldemort knows Neville is sealed away by Dumbledore. He knows the only way Neville will ever come out is when he is forced to attend Hogwarts at age 11.
So he just waits.
He halts all Death Eater activity, no more attacks, no visible presence. For 10 years, the wizarding world enjoys this period of...
That is terrifyingly patient. It's just silent. And silence breeds speculation and fear. He's using the absence of violence to lull the world into a false sense of security.
The sources are very clear on this. The silence is the trap. The goal is to make Dumbledore complacent, maybe make the Longbottoms feel safe enough to let their guard down.
Or just to ensure that when Neville steps onto that platform at King's Cross, Voldemort's agents are ready.
Exactly. Unburdened by an act.
In this vacuum of information, It lets public perception just take over. So what is the community saying about this vanishing act?
Well, the attack on the Potters is highly public. Lily survived, even if she's damaged, and Harry was completely untouched. So since Voldemort vanished right around the time of that attack, the public starts to theorize.
Then Harry did something.
That something uniquely powerful about baby Harry repelled the Dark Lord or, zapped his powers.
Yeah.
Harry gets a certain kind of fame, this boy who lived-ish fame, but with no scar. He becomes a symbol of resistance.
So the public is hedging its bets. Harry is famous for surviving this attack that coincided with Voldemort's vanishing. But what about the Longbottom?
The disappearance of this prominent, powerful Longbottom family who everyone knew were vocally against the Dark Lord. That's the other huge puzzle piece.
Right.
People wonder, did the Longbottoms defeat Voldemort and disappear for safe? Was their son, Neville, the actual key to ending the war? The rumors just intertwine, and it leads to this potent mixture of fascination and intense scrutiny on both boys.
So when Neville and Harry finally arrive at Hogwarts, they're both famous, both burdened by destiny, and neither one of them actually knows the truth of the prophecy.
And that shared burden is going to be the foundation of their friendship. It creates this instant connection between them, this sense of shared absurdity over all the myths surrounding them.
11 years fly by. It's time for Hogwarts. Neville has to finally leave the security of the Fidelius charm.
And this introduction to the world is handled with extreme caution. It has to be Dumbledore, the secret keeper, who hand-delivers the letter.
And the Longbottoms can't take him to Diagon Alley.
No, they're too famous. It's too dangerous to be seen. This is a moment of profound vulnerability for Neville.
Enter Hagrid, the perfect guy.
Hagrid is the emotional bridge. He's immediately trusted, he's warm, he's utterly non-judgmental. And Neville, who is so profoundly shy from his isolation, is just astounded by the sensory overload of Diagon Alley.
The smells, the crowds.
The colors, it must be dizzying. Hagrid provides that anchor.
And Hagrid also gives him that vital context, confirming the rumors that his parents were amongst the few brave enough to end up.
It gives Neville, this boy who's just racked by self-doubt, his first real glimpse of a noble heritage he feels he has to uphold.
Which is necessary before the trauma of the wand shop.
Oh yeah, Ollivander instantly recognizes him, calling him one of the lost Longbottom. That sudden public recognition for the first time in his life must be terrifying.
The pressure is immense, and then the first wands fail.
And they fail spectacularly. His father favored Ash, but the Ash wand rejects him. Beach fail. Neville, who's already dealing with Malfoy's taunts about Hufflepuff, he immediately internalizes. He doubts his own magic, thinking, maybe I am just talent.
That profound self-doubt is the biggest obstacle he has.
It is. But then comes the moment of truth. Ollivander brings out the final box. When Neville touches the wand, the entire room fades. A violent red light explodes, and Ollivander reveals the twin core.
This isn't just a magical fit, it is destiny confirmed.
Ollivander says, the phoenix I gave the core inside, that wand gave another. Just one other. It is curious that you should be destined for this wand when for your whole life you've been hiding from his brother.
Wow.
That is the magical mark. It replaces the physical scar Harry carries in the original story. The opposition is now cemented by the shared source of their magical power.
It symbolizes that Neville's power, when he finds it, will be inextricably linked to Voldemort's.
It's confirmation that he is the destined enemy, forcing him to confront that dark legacy head-on.
So he leaves Ollivander's feeling simultaneously terrified and maybe marginally affirmed.
Right.
He has a destiny, but it's tied to a monster. And then he encounters the first true test of his burgeoning courage, the Hogwarts Express.
And we get two immediate stark contrasts here. First, Draco Malfoy. Draco is smug, highly political, and immediately recognizes the lost Longbottoms.
He flaunts his pure blood supremacy, his Slytherin pride.
And attacks Neville's self-esteem by deriding Hufflepuff.
And Neville feels that horrible sinking sensation when he shakes Draco's hand, and that feeling, it's not just social anxiety.
No, it's a subtle, inherent magic reacting to a dark influence. He's picking up on the dark magic associated with Draco, or maybe the artifact Draco was carrying. His isolation, while damaging socially, may have made him hypersensitive to external magical influence. And crucially, he notices Draco is holding a small black book.
Foreshadowing much.
Just a little.
But before Neville can crumble, the compartment door swings open and his magical shield arrives. Harry Potter.
This is the confident, skilled, flashy Harry, raised by Sirius. He's wearing expensive clothes. He's got a huge toad named Hedwig.
And he is not shy.
Not at all. He steps right into the middle of the Malfoy confrontation.
And he doesn't just use a basic spell. He showed off. He casts that beautiful, slightly ridiculous transfiguration charm. Golden hues, I do decree. turn this toad from green to glee.
He transforms his toad into this blinding golden creature, using the flash to humiliate Malfoy and drive him away. It tells you everything about this Harry.
He's skilled enough to improvise,
Confident enough to use magic in public, and instantly willing to protect the shy, vulnerable Neville. He even normalizes the fear for Neville, mentioning Voldemort by name, and they bond instantly over the absurd rumors of their formidable baby step.
So Neville, who has had 0 friends for 11 years, finally has someone who understands his strange burden and is willing to fight for him.
That foundational friendship is critical. It's the bedrock of this entire alternate timeline. Harry is the confident, magically adept frontman. Neville is the isolated, powerful candidate for destiny.
Which sets up the sorting ceremony perfect. Neville is terrified of being sorted into Hufflepuff.
He's totally internalized Malfoy's insults and his initial struggles with the wand. He's looking at Harry, this natural Gryffindor, and thinking, I don't belong there. I'm shy. I fail wands. I'm a Hufflepuff.
But the hat sees past all that.
It sees past the social anxiety and the lack of practice. It senses loyalty, patience, and friendship.
Oh, yeah.
Courage. So much courage should you allow yourself to find.
And he ends up in Gryffindor, realizing his first steps were already leading him toward the Hufflepuff table, that moment of decision. It's his first true act of courage.
And Harry's finger guns from across the hall just confirm the alliance. They're in the same house, now officially the formidable duo.
So the first weeks of Hogwarts establish their dynamic. Neville performs surprisingly well, especially in herbology, that's his niche, but Harry and Hermione Granger are the academic and magical superstars.
And the rivalries solidify quickly. We see Professor Snape immediately harboring this intense antipathy toward Harry.
And in this context, it's purely reflective of his deep-seated hatred for James Potter.
Exactly. He blames James for Lily's terrible fate. He sees James in Harry's confidence and his skill.
Neville receives the Remembrall from his Granovice, designed to remind the user of forgotten things, with that very loaded note. So you always remember who the true enemy is.
And that's a political instruction, not a piece of advice on homework. It's the Longbottom family line, telling Neville to focus his considerable, if undiscovered power on Voldemort, not on local skirmishes. The Remembrall symbolizes his duty.
And in a classic setup, Harry quickly excels at flying, becoming the Seeker after a skirmish with Malfoy over Neville's Remembrall. Malfoy challenges Neville to a midnight duel, but Harry, the natural protector, steps.
Which just confirms Malfoy's initial taunt. Neville relies on Harry. They use the inherited invisibility cloak, further cementing Harry's role as the magical shield and protector. This is the new normal. Harry fights the battles, Neville carries the burden of the prophet.
But this reliance, it's about to be completely inverted when the Chamber of Secrets reopens and Harry becomes the primary suspect.
The stage is set with that failed midnight duel. Harry gets caught, encounters Mrs. Norris, and gets detention. This happens on Halloween. He's in the Forbidden Forest with Hagrid, where he meets Eric.
And Hagrid gives him a subtle piece of context that will be vital later. Aragog was suspected of opening the chamber.
Exactly. So when Mrs. Norris is petrified and the message appears, the Chamber of Secrets has been opened, enemies of the air beware. Snape immediately pounces, demanding to know where Harry is.
The rumors start immediately. Harry, the boy who survived the torture, empowered by some residual Dark Lord energy he was missing during the attack.
And those public theories about his strange immunity to Voldemort now twist into suspicion. Is he capable of dark magic? Is he the heir of Slytherin?
The atmosphere becomes thick with dread. Professor Quirrell, who is keen to prove his worth in this timeline, since he isn't burdened by Voldemort's soul frag, starts teaching defensive magic like Expelliarmus.
And we get a really consequential moment in that class. Harry, the confident, talented one, is paired with Hermione. She hits him so hard with the disarming charm that he flies across the room.
Ouch! And Harry is embarrassed. He takes this public humiliation personally.
It chips away at that confidence he got from Sirius. Harry isn't used to failing, especially not in front of his friends and rivals. And this creates a little flicker of motive, a desire to regain magical superiority, perhaps secret.
And that motive feeds directly into the second attack. Hermione and nearly headless Nick are petrified. Harry misses herbology.
And Neville, the anxious, detail-oriented Gryffindor, starts piecing together the evidence.
No.
He connects the dots. Harry had motive, the embarrassment. He was unaccounted. And the attack seemed to follow these periods of tension around Harry. Neville's absolute confidence in his best friend starts to erode, replaced by that fear and anxiety that defined his upbringing.
So he's struggling to reconcile the kind, protective friend he knows, circumstantial evidence attacker.
He is. And that internal conflict builds until Neville discovers the key, the black notebook. Harry wins the Quidditch match in a spectacular 3 minutes, but afterwards, he collapses over his books.
Exhausted.
Right. Neville, trying to help, finds Harry asleep, sees the black book. It's blank on the inside, but on the back there are initial TMR.
And this is the moment.
This is the moment. Neville's latent sensitivity to dark magic confirms his fear. He feels that sickening, visceral dread, the exact same feeling he got when he shook Draco Malfoy's hand.
The subtle warning signs of dark influence are now coalescing not just around a friend, but around the most powerful magical artifact they've ever seen. The threat is in their dormitory.
So Neville, still desperate to trust Harry, tries to engineer a return to normal. He convinces Harry to stay at Hogwarts for Christmas break, suggesting they explore the castle with the invisibility.
It's an attempt to reinforce their bond through a shared innocent adventure.
But the diary's influence is too strong. Late one night, the diary pulls Harry out. He leaves the dorm fully dressed, walking robotically, completely ignoring Neville, and critically forgetting the protective invisibility.
Forgetting the cloak is a huge detail.
It's vital. It shows how completely subsumed he is by the diaries, and he's not acting conscious. Neville, hidden by the cloak, follows his friend and witnesses the imposter. Harry whispering to a sink in a cold, clear, hissing voice.
The door opens, and Neville is just paralyzed by this discovery. Harry, his confident protective heir of Slytherin.
So Neville runs, overwhelmed, and finds Dumbledore alone in the Great Hall. And this is a brilliant narrative beat. Dumbledore knows Neville's out of bounds, but he doesn't mention house points or punishment.
No, he just speaks of philosophy and trust. He talks about loyalty, standing up for what is...
And then he deliberately brings up Neville's grandmother's advice, remembering who the true enemy.
Dumbledore, with his incredible perception, he knows Neville is struggling with a monumental dilemma about a friend. He can't interfere directly.
But he subtly redirects Neville's focus back to Voldemort. He's saying, look past the immediate threat, Neville, and focus on the original source of the dark.
But before Neville can confess, the plot intervenes. Ron Weasley is found petrified outside the Gryffindor common.
And this is the external confirmation Neville needed to clear his internal doubt. The message on the wall targeted enemies of the heir, which everyone thought meant Muggle-born.
But Ron is a pure blood.
The attack doesn't fit the pattern. If Harry is consciously acting as the heir, Neville realizes the attacks must be random or aimed at someone else entirely, someone using the chamber's power without full control.
So Neville returns to the dorm. He uses the remembrall from his gran, focusing intensely on the true enemy.
He runs through the suspect, Harry, maybe Malfoy, but the orb only clears when he focuses on the name Voldemort.
That's the magical clarity.
The remembrall affirms Dumbledore's cryptic advice. Harry's not the enemy. Voldemort. Neville instantly forgives Harry.
And Harry confesses that he's been blacking out, talking to Tom Riddle through the notebook, who has been helping him learn powerful magic. Harry genuinely believes he is the one attacking.
And Neville, armed with the knowledge that TMR is Voldemort's influence, instantly understands Harry is a puppet.
But their ability to act is critically curtailed because Dumbledore, despite his wisdom, is summarily removed from the school by Cornelius Fudge and Lucius Malfoy.
Of course. Malfoy, who smuggled the diary into the school in the first place, is now using the chaos to take down Dumbledore.
So with no Dumbledore and Ron's life on the line, Neville and Harry, in this desperate act, decide to take the diary to the only teacher who seems active and trustworthy in their absence, Professor
Quirrell, eager for glory and completely oblivious to the diary's true nature, he examines. The boys use a sneakoscope, a device designed to detect dark magic.
And the device screams upon touching the diary.
Confirming dark magic, they breathe this massive sigh of relief, thinking they have just contained the greatest piece of dark magic ever written.
They are convinced the threat is contained.
Not realizing they've just delivered the bait and the lure right into the hands of the very person Voldemort, the Horcrux, wants to confront, Neville Longbottom.
Which moves us into the intense, high-stakes final act. The mandrakes are nearly ready, offering hope, but the threat finds its final target.
After a second Quidditch victory for Gryffindor, the chilling message appears. His body will rot in the chamber forever.
And the victim is Professor Quirrell. McGonagall announces the year is canceled. This is Neville's breaking point.
The guilt is enormous. He realizes the isolation he faced for 11 years is about to become permanent. He looks at Harry, looks at Ron, and he realizes his duty. He says, we got Quirrell into this mess, now we have to get him out.
This is Neville's first true act of conscious, self-directed courage.
He's rejecting his timid nature.
They are the only ones who know the entrance. They return to the girls' bath. Moaning Myrtle, the ghost who was killed by the basilisk 50 years prior, directs.
And Neville, drawing on the recent subconscious practice he witnessed in Harry, manages to produce the hissing sound Parseltongue to open the sink.
Wow, that's a fascinating moment. He doesn't have the natural...
No, but his innate magical connection to the prophecy and the power of the situation allows him to mimic the sound and unlock the chamber.
The descent is terrifying. They find Quirrell barely alive in the large underground and then Tom Riddle emerged, handsome and confident, Slytherin row.
Tom admits to the entire manipulation. He manipulated Harry through the diary, his 16-year-old self, to find the chamber and lure Neville, his destined rival. The attacks were never about Muggle-born. They were a calculated ploy to create chaos, get Dumbledore removed, and force Neville to confront him.
And Tom reveals his identity, rearranging TMR into I am Lord Voldemort, confirming what the remember.
He explains that his true self opened the chamber 49 years ago, and he has now returned to finish the job he started a decade prior.
And he attempts to drain the remaining life force from Quirrell to be reborn, to give the Horcrux the physical power needed to destroy the Chosen.
But Neville cries out, echoing Dumbledore's words from the Great Hall, a plea for help rooted in trust. Help will always be given at Hogwarts to those who ask for it.
And help arrives in a blinding flash.
Fawkes Phoenix appears, dropping the sorting hat into Neville's hand. Tom, enraged, summons the basilisk.
And Harry immediately steps into his protective role, showing that tactical mind he gained from Sirius. He shouts the warning, "Don't look at its eyes!" and he starts throwing rocks, acting as the ultimate distraction.
Fawkes pecks out the basilisk's eyes, blinding. The basilisk is still terrifying, but now it relies on sound and scent. Neville, seeing his opening, shoves the hat onto his head. This is the moment where fear turns into pure, desperate courage.
When he removes
the sword of Gryffindor is glistening in the hand. This is the ultimate proof that the hat recognized the immense, if late, courage inside Neville Longbottom.
So while Harry continues his tactical distraction, Neville throws his entire weight into the sword, plunging it up through the basilisk's mouth and brain, killing the monster instantly.
The monster is dead, but the true Dark Lord influence, the Horcrux, remain. Tom Riddle, livid that his plan has been thwarted and his physical form is failing, focuses his rage entirely on Neville.
He declares Neville nothing special, intending to eliminate the threat that was supposed to have been destroyed a decade ago. He casts the killing.
And this is the ultimate moment of heroic sacrifice. Harry Potter, the confident, loved, and magically skilled boy, throws himself in front of his best friend.
The jet of green light hits Harry. He collapsed dead. Tom then points his wand directly at Neville's chest, completing the attack that was destined to happen 10 years prior. Neville blacks out.
The symmetry is just chilling. James died for Lily. Harry dies for Neville. The Chosen One receives the full magical force of the Dark Lord.
So Neville wakes up in the hospital wing, covered in candy and well wishes. Quirrell is confirmed dead, drained by Tom. And Dumbledore confirms the devastating loss. Harry did not survive.
But Dumbledore explains the ancient magic, the power the Dark Lord knows not, which was finally realized. Tom, recognizing Harry's skill, had offered to spare his life and take him as a servant.
But Harry refused.
Harry, refusing that reprieve and consciously, willingly dying to save Neville, provided Neville with the most powerful protection imaginable, love.
It's the ultimate sacrificial magic, but it's inverted. It's not a mother's familial protection, but a conscious, defiant choice of friendship and loyalty.
So when the killing curse hit Neville, the curse backfired, destroying Tom Riddle, the Horcrux, in the process. The core of Voldemort was destroyed, fulfilling the prophecy's promise of defeat.
And the curse did not kill Neville, but it fulfilled the second half of the prophecy, marking him as...
Dumbledore points to Neville's chest, which is scarred by what looks like a thunderstorm's worth of lightning. The source material notes this is a far more powerful, chaotic scar than the single bolt Harry carried.
It's a physical manifestation of the immense magic that rebounded and the great power he survived. It confirms his death.
It does. And Dumbledore solidifies Neville's new status by handing him a Godric Gryffindor chocolate frog card, recognizing his emergence as a true hero. First, you pull his sword from the hat, and now his card from the box. A true Gryffindor indeed.
Wow.
So Neville is left with this immense psychological weight, realizing he is now the one destined to defeat the real Voldemort, fueled by the desire to repay Harry's ultimate sacrifice.
He is a chosen one, confirmed not by a dark mark, but by the conscious, loving death of his best friend.
When you look back at the big picture, the brilliant inversion here is just profound. Neville, the pureblood candidate, was ultimately defended by Harry, the half-blood raised by Sirius. The prophecy was fulfilled not by raw inherent power, but by Harry's willingness to sacrifice himself for a friend.
The power the Dark Lord knows not was repaired.
The entire timeline pivoted on Voldemort's choice between vanity and dogma. His dogma led him to Neville, but his failure to understand love, regardless of who it came from, ensured his defeat.
It confirms that the prophecy was designed to protect the designated target through sacrificial love, no matter who that target.
The timeline shifts we've tracked are astounding. The Potter's tragedy inverted, Harry's confident upbringing turning him into the tactical protector, Neville's deep isolation being shattered by an act of heroism.
And the ultimate climax where Harry fulfilled the role of the magical shield, ensuring Neville survived a hero with the defining scar.
It raises a profound question about the nature of death and the power of conscious act or fate.
It really does. I mean, Dumbledore noted that Voldemort marked Neville as with the wand core connect, but it was Harry's death that truly marked both physically and making him the inevitable chosen. So what does it mean for a prophecy filled not by the person it targeted, but by the love and sacrifice?
It raises the question, was the prophecy about Voldemort marking his equal, or was it about Voldemort ensuring his own eventual defeat through the power of love, regardless of which boy he chose?
The love was the names were the very. We'll leave you to mull over that distinction as you consider the new scar-covered hero, Fate: Return of the Dark. Until next time.